Yes. And then you come up to Canada and then you freeze your butt off. We'll take you to the Arctic. It'll be cool.
I love it.
All right. Okay. I'm going to.
All right. Start the damn podcast.
Yes. Sorry. I'm going to be professional. I'm going to start it right away.
Oh, good.
I'm very hyped up. My mind is all over the place. Okay. Deep breath. All right. Here we go. Ow. Welcome back to the Pear. I don't like that sound at all. Why did I make that sound? Okay. Take 2. Welcome back to the Pear Genius Podcast. We're just going to keep that for the blooper reel anyway, because
I love it.
Every show should start funnier and funnier. We're like The Office. And, you know, I was listening to Tami's last episode on her podcast, Unscripted Healing, right, Tami?
Yes.
Unscripted Healing. Tami talks. And she does such a good housekeeping at the beginning. She actually like records it. I'm like, oh man, I wish I was disciplined enough to do housekeeping. You know, like, subscribe, share. You know, visit our OnlyFans, whatever. You know, support us. Support us. We need the support. But anyway,
I tend to forget. So I'm glad that. Thanks for the props, because I generally am terrible at that. Like, oh yeah, I forgot I had a Patreon, and I'm like, episode 55. And my friend's like, you've mentioned it twice. Like, whoops.
Yes. I have to start a Telegram. I had a conversation with a guy yesterday, and I have to start a Telegram for the other podcast. I'm like, oh, good. Another thing to take care of. But hey, one of these days I'll be, you know, rich and famous, and I'll just have my assistant do all these things. So anyway,
there you go.
Long story short, welcome back, Tami. Round 2. The fun thing is in real time, your first episode's dropping in a couple days, and you're back for round 2 because we had so much fun with you. And I wrote a bunch of notes. I'm ready to tear all the scabs off my life here.
Let's go. Let's get in there.
Let's just bleed. Let's just bleed. It's just going to be awful. But you know what? I think Tami does a good job of making it fun. Like, why not?
Yeah. You know what, Tami? You have such a softness and a compassion that comes through. It's almost hard not to cry, because you make it very safe and open for people to just be exactly who they need to be in that moment. So I'm a little worried that Alex is going to go cry.
We had a week last week. It was something else.
Oh, it was terrible. What a bad week. Oh my God. I don't know if you felt it, but that energy, the eclipse energy, so intense.
Yes.
So, you know, for a little bit of background for everybody listening at home, when Tami was on the first time, I did mention a little bit of anorexia and things like that. And I actually wanted to get our neighbor onto the show. I wanted to get the courage to ask her to come on, and because she was dealing with it. And wouldn't you know it, it was like a few days later, she died. And it just, like, I don't know how to explain it, but it just broke something. And, you know, there's a lot of, I felt so bad for her son, because I could see so much of me in him. And it's crazy when you're a little boy, you need your mom. And he's so little still. It's crazy. And I'll never forget the first time where I met her. She actually hated me, because I wanted to take her little guy, reminded me so much of me. And he came up to me, and he was so sweet. And I have this really cool red and black motorcycle. He's like, can I ride it with you? I'm like, hell yeah, you can. I'm like, just go ask your mom. She's like, no, he can't ride the motorcycle, you psychopath. Like, what the heck? I'm like, well, I was just going to go around the block. It's not like I'm going to do wheelies with him and kill him. But anyway.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. That's my son had a play date on Saturday, and he's like, Mom, you should do the WWE moves with my friend. I'm like, probably shouldn't double suplex your friend without. I don't need him going home and telling his mom that, yeah, Arlo's mom just threw me up. No.
That's funny. You just like rip your shirt off.
All of your son's friends
like,
are going to have to sign a waiver.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Wrestling moves are amazing. You should actually do that to children.
I'm getting pretty good at it.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Don't pile drive kids. That's one thing I learned. It's like, if you don't do a pile driver properly, you can get a pretty bad neck injury. But that was like our favorite move as kids.
Yes.
Pile drivers. Oh man. Well, welcome back. We're segueing all over the place.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious of why her son reminded you of you.
I don't know. It's weird. Even when I saw him at the memorial, like me and Kathy talked about how he just kind of, you could just see where the moment he checks out, where it was just like, there's too many people. It's not, I don't know, it was almost like not appropriate for him to be there. I felt terrible. And at the same time, I'm hoping his subconscious was hearing the things that, people were saying about his mom, because it was really interesting. Like, I didn't know her that well, but it was cool to get like the different pieces of her life's puzzle and how different people saw her. But as far as I go, I don't know. Maybe there's a little bit of me in every boy. When I look, it's like, oh man, it's like, yeah, I want to ride that motorcycle. Yeah. The thing that I liked about him was that he had the courage to come and ask me.
Yeah.
And for me, I would never have done that. I would have been like way too shy or scared. And
that's cool.
And then that's how you end up being a wallflower and missing out on things.
I feel like you didn't really answer the question. I'm going to do it for you a little bit, because like his name is Junior, which is the cutest name ever. And it makes my heart hurt even more for him that it's Junior. But Junior walked in, and it's like he walked into a concrete wall. He was instantly overwhelmed. Those were not his people. And now his mom's not there to protect him. So he's walking into a situation completely unprotected. And I feel that for you, your mom was not there to protect you from the insanity that was happening in your house as well. Like, she seemed to be missing. Her role was to protect you, but she was not there for that.
Yeah, I would say both my parents weren't really protecting me. Which is why I had to grow up quick and protect myself, because, I mean, twice a week, every week, I'd be going to bed, and I would have 2 or 3 fears. One of the fears would be that the police would call, or that my dad is dead. I guess number 2 would be that my dad comes home and my mom is screaming at him and they start fighting in the middle of the night, because that's always fun to wake up to at like 3 in the morning when you're little. And then my dad just not coming home at all and not hearing anything. There was a lot. It was just all terror. I basically lived my life in anxiety multiple times a week, every week. It was crazy. Crazy.
Talk about living in survival mode, and now that being your foundation and what feels normal. Like, what that is not normal for a kid.
Yeah. And then the days that my dad was there, I feel bad. I'm kind of slamming my dad, but he's not the same person he was back then. But the days that he was home, he was miserable. He was hungover. He was like sleeping on the couch and getting pissed at us for waking him up for being too loud. Like, just being kids walking around the house and eating or just living was just too much. So it was like living with a grizzly bear that was either at home, like asleep, and you didn't want to wake him, or this crazy maniac that would come home in the middle of the night. And it's like, that was my life. It's crazy. And then I felt bad when me and Kathy started dating at 15 or 16. And, I would say, I don't think you ever made me feel bad for how crazy my parents were.
Have you met my family? I'm coming from my own trauma, never mind your trauma.
We have two, and Tami, we have 2 completely different traumas, which is probably why we loved each other so much. I'm like, wow, which one of us is screwed up more?
Yeah.
Oh.
But when you can have a sense of understanding, I mean, there's a bonding that happens through that process for sure.
Yeah, it was a moment of, we're here to save each other. And that was the bonding moment, was, no, we're in this together. We're going to rescue each other and build a totally different life the way we want it to be built. So there was no judgment, me coming into your space, because you were coming into mine, and I was just horrified about what you were going to experience.
And on the outside, so the crazy thing is your family does such a good job of looking perfect.
Yeah.
Totally looking perfect.
There's a lot of that. And I feel like that's a lot of people that I work with, is they were like the Leave It to Beaver, and like, oh, we had a perfect family. We had a perfect childhood. We had a perfect. And like, oh boy, there was a lot that was swept under the rug. There was a lot of tension that no one talked about. There was a lot of feelings that were suppressed. Yeah.
Yeah. That was kind of the insane beauty of my family, is everybody knew they were like screwed up, and my parents would just have it out. They'd have these crazy fights, and then that would be that. And then they would just let it go to the next fight. And it was, I don't know, there was no powder keg, where I would say in Kathy's house was the powder keg, where everything was very repressed,
Yeah.
and they're just waiting for the dynamite to get set, which is scary too.
Right. That's so interesting. And I love this dynamic for that reason. Because I talk about it all the time. You have the in your face traumas, the ones that are right there in front of you. You can't deny it. And then you have what people maybe refer to as these small T traumas, but you can see how not knowing and things not presenting the way they feel is very confusing for a kid, and also can create that same kind of fear and instability and unpredictability that you had, even though it was like very apparent what yours was. And it shows up very different for people. And I think that's a huge part of this work, is that every person's story is valid. Every person's experience is valid. It just shows up very differently. It could be the same exact wound. It just was developed in a very, very different way.
100%. So that got me thinking, because we all have trauma, and you can't say my trauma is worse than your trauma. Trauma's trauma. Because the experience is so individual to the person.
Yeah.
But then I was like, is it ever possible to have a time where childhood trauma doesn't exist anymore because humans are evolving and dumping their stuff and dumping their parents' stuff? I don't know. Is it part of the human experience to have and to come from trauma?
Yeah. I hope so. I hope so. And I think about the way that we're trying to raise our kids now to be emotionally intelligent and aware and in tune with their intuition, and to know what's theirs and what's not, and how to protect their energy. I think the more education that we can do, and the more we heal, like hopefully we're filtering that out. Will it ever not exist? I don't know, but
do your kids ever tell you about how you traumatized them?
Oh, my daughter all the time. She's like, I'm like, I'm well aware that I am far from a perfect parent, and that you're going to have your own little childhood wounds from these things. And actually, just the other night, we were playing a card game, and she was trying to control it, very much so. And when it was not going her way, she started to get triggered. And then when she did, it triggered me. And so I just paused. I put my hands on my heart. I closed my eyes, and I started taking deep breaths, literally right at this table. And me doing that triggered her, because now she feels bad that she triggered me. And it was like,
this is what happens when you make somebody pick up 8 in Uno.
Right. But so I had to even tell her, I'm like, that is not a you thing. Like, that's me still trying to regulate myself in the moment. You're giving me an opportunity to practice. I hope to someday just be able to see you have your moment and be able to respond in the way that you need me to. But right now I have to regulate myself first, and that's okay. But that's a me thing. That's not a you thing. And you're not the cause. It's just, you're giving me an opportunity to practice. And yeah, that was interesting. But we just talk about it all the time, because I keep telling her, like, I don't want you to be a 42-year-old woman who has to self-regulate in front of her kids, because I didn't teach you how to do that when you were 11. So,
right.
Oh man.
Did she understand that?
She did. She's a very old soul, and we have some really, really cool conversations around this stuff. My kids are very fluent in inner child work and ego. Like, they will
And they're
tell
still
me
children.
like, oh, well, that's what I'm like. I'm hopeful that, like, okay, like, my kids are getting this, and granted, they're immersed in it because I live and breathe this stuff. But that's why I wanted to, do this podcast and be on here. And the work that you guys are doing is to get this message out there, so our kids are fluent in these things and can understand it and detach from that story that this isn't about you. This is about the work that I'm still doing, that you didn't cause. Like, this is going way back. Yeah.
So we have one of those kids too, this old soul, and Emma she really gets it. She totally understands, and she nails me consistently on, Mom, that's not how your inner child would like to hear you speak that way, or, but she's very aware. And then somebody was like, from the outside looking in, they're like, you share too much with your kids. Like, you guys talk about too much stuff. There's too much adult stuff. And then that took me aback. I'm like, well, shit, if I, like, where's that fine line where you're like oversharing or you don't share at all? Like, my parents were strangers to me. Yeah. So that created its own type of trauma. But am I traumatizing Emma by oversharing or getting too deep with her. Like, I don't know.
Right. And there is no manual on this. And I think that's where we have to trust our intuition. And is that person not projecting onto you because they don't have that relationship with their kids and that they wouldn't feel comfortable sharing that kind of closeness and that being that authentic with their kids? Like, I want my kids to see my range of emotions. I need them to see how I move through it. Because otherwise I'm only teaching them, well, here's how you can be if you're happy. I don't want to see you if you're upset. I don't want to deal with you. Like, no, they need to see how I move through that. And if I'm never giving them any context to what's going on, yeah, I'm not sharing like deep personal details, but I can let them know, like, yeah, I'm having a hard day and I wasn't feeling seen in this situation or something. And yeah, I think you just have to trust your intuition on that.
Tami, did you ever look at your parents like they were like characters? Like they weren't people, but they were just characters.
I feel like that's how I kind of see everybody now.
Yeah. Okay.
Honestly, like and this is where I would tell people, like, you need to at some point be the main character in your play, because for so long I wasn't. I was like backstage, like, what the hell is going on out there? You know, but I see these people that come into my life and you can almost see it like that as a play. The people that come in for this scene and then they teach you that lesson and then they leave. And then, you know, this person comes in, but yeah, I mean, I see my parents that way for sure. But I mean, honestly, I kind of start to view everybody like that. Like, who's coming in for this scene and what are we going to learn today?
Yeah. Cause like to me, yeah, my parents are definitely characters, but in a funny way. But Kathy's parents are very much like they have roles to play. They are the parents or they are the in-laws.
Oh, that way. Yes.
And there isn't like, you know, now that we're older, it's not like, oh, we'll come down to you and we'll be equals. They're very much like up here. And there's been a few times where I've had really good conversations with Kathy's mom when her dad's not around or something. And it's like, oh, wow. I'm always very surprised with how me and her can communicate very well. And when Kathy talks about her mom or the fact that they have not, like, they don't have that communication, it bugs me. But being the outsider, when I look in, it's because they're these parent figures that can't ever, I don't know, how do you explain it, dear? Like, your parents can't relate to you almost as if you were, it's like they were never young. They were just born old.
My parents are so wrapped in trauma that I think that I used to blame them for just being way up there and having this huge gap. But it's almost like it was also serving to protect me because, I mean, I did take on their trauma. There's no doubt about it. But maybe they were trying to spare how much of the trauma. Now, they've never even looked inwards to themselves to say out loud, yeah, we're seeped in trauma. My dad is a wounded Scorpio. My mom's a wounded Taurus. Well, these are two very powerful zodiac signs. And when they're living in their shadow selves, like, it's terrifying. Like, it's tough stuff. So I feel like that space just was necessary and it just naturally became that.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting when you talk about the characters too, of just the masks that we have to put on in those situations. And when we're around certain people, like, well, if my husband's around, this is who I need to be. And when he's not there, maybe she feels safe to remove that and can show this other side of her, this other version of her. And sometimes that's why I love the work that I do, is because you see people feel safe enough to take those walls down or those masks off. But I think that's why oftentimes I see people in those roles, because, like, is that really who you are? Or is this who you think I want you to be? Or this is how you think you need to show up in this, but that's really not who you are. You know, and that's going back to, oh, the people pleaser or this or that. And you're like, something doesn't feel authentic here. And you wish people would take that off. And so you could see that beautiful, vulnerable part of them. But that's scary for ego.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, it's hard being this hilarious in this body. Like, I am a comedic genius, and I live with this person who does not find most of the things I do or say funny. But if I do something stupid, like hit myself in the head with a board, well, she's peeing her pants laughing. Like, if I am doing some kind of a physical comedy and I'm hurting myself, this is the greatest gift I could ever give my wife as far as
Oh.
joy and laughter and pleasure. And it must come at my expense. It must.
You know what's
But
so crazy? So I'm going to say it's been 2 weeks since Emily died, and there has been no smiling. I have been like, and we were not close because her anorexia triggered all sorts of trauma in me.
Yeah.
But I would say that it's been life changing. Like something shifted in my life when she died, and there was no joy. We were going to, I mean, yoga is our thing. That's how we exercise. That's how we move energy. I couldn't enjoy it. It was awful. It was 2 weeks of hell at the yoga studio. But then today, I thought I am going to make this yoga spray for my mat. I'm going to make it from scratch, and I'm going to get a little sticker from the studio and put it on there. So I put it in his gym bag, and I walk into the studio, and it's set up with music and the lighting and stuff. Stops at the door, and I don't know what happened, but there was this giant kaboom. And this bottle of spray exploded everywhere.
out of my bag, and everybody's looking at me. It's my horror story.
And while everyone's looking at him, I just laughed my ass off like I have never laughed before. And I'm making an ass of myself in front of everyone. I'm like, but you don't understand. I haven't laughed in 2 weeks.
Oh.
And I probably kept laughing all throughout the class.
And you know what I hate? When everyone looks at me and laughs, because I just made a big scene in front of everyone. It's like, oh, I just want to be a turtle right away. I'm just like, fuck, I should just get in the car and leave. But I brought my wife joy. Yes, I brought my wife so much joy in my misery.
Isn't that interesting though? Like, this is where when things like that happen, it's kind of like, it's like, God, we need to snap her out of this. What are we going to do? I know. Let's like, it's perfectly orchestrated. Like, how does that happen?
I will say though,
what needed to happen.
Right, exactly. But I'll say I had a breakthrough because the old me would have got mad at her. I would have got mad that you did this to me. That, like, right. I would have got really pissed off, and eventually that laughter would have turned to tears. And I'm like, you know what? I need to just swallow this and let her have her moment of laughter because it's the thing that she needed. I don't have absolutely no idea how that bottle fell out. Like it was almost supernatural. It should not have jumped out of my bag and exploded everywhere. And I'm like, okay, this is my chance to control myself and figure out why. Like, why do I get mad about these things? I don't want people to look at me, right? I don't want people to look at me. I don't want people to laugh at me. Like, laugh with me, but not at me.
Yeah.
I'll make the exception for my wife. She can laugh at me, but nobody else can.
Well, and that's, obviously deeply rooted childhood stuff right there too, right?
Right,
so to be able to sit with that.
I saw it when it smashed and made that giant sound. He stood there and it was like everything froze and he made that face like, what did you do to me? She recovered from that face very quickly.
Yes. It was all in slow motion though. I watched it and I'm like, man, I almost had the reflexes to, I'm pretty good with the reflexes, but I just kind of watched it smash and I'm like, all right, here we go. It's time to clean up the mess.
I love those random things. Like, this totally happened for me in what a random way. Like, okay, we learned some things from this.
Yeah, that was just before this. It's because Tami was coming on that we had to talk about this.
The energy is just crazy.
Yeah. I was working this weekend too, and I was telling her, I said, like, I hit myself in the head with a board, like the dumbest thing you've ever seen. I went to switch the light off, and the board just hit me in the forehead. And I'm just standing there in the garage, like, trying not to cry. I'm like, oh my God, this is the stupidest thing ever, and I don't even have Kati to laugh at me to make me feel better. Like, nobody's here to laugh at me. I just want to cry by myself in the stupid garage with my forehead throbbing. Oh Ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Well, you can share it here with the world now, and we will laugh with you.
Yes. I'm surprised I don't have a mark, or a dent in my head. Right? It was crazy. It was crazy what happened. Oh, man. Tami, I'm sorry that you have to put up with us.
I love this. This is fun.
I was going to ask Kati, what do you think Alora's biggest trauma is. I know she's not on here. Alora is our oldest daughter.
Okay.
She's 16 and she carries way more trauma than Emma does, who is 13. But also, Alora and I talk openly about trauma that she's experienced. I make sure never to. So here's the thing about laughing. If you laugh at Alora at any point, it kind of ruins her, like immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Like immediately. If she's really upset and Alex laughs at her, it makes it like to a nuclear level of bad.
Yeah.
So there is no laughing at Alora.
And that's like my defense. That's like my nervous defense too. It's like,
Right.
it's not good. If things get too crazy for me, I'll kind of like accidentally laugh. I'm not like laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because I want to die inside. Oh, wow.
Yes,
I didn't think about that.
Alora is a Leo. She has like big, strong, fiery energy. So we left Manitoba, where we were born and raised. We sold all of our stuff. We sold the kids' stuff, and we packed them up and traveled Europe with them because I needed to leave Manitoba. My body was like failing in every way. And that's her biggest trauma because both of our moms had cancer. So they were really angry at us for leaving, and they dumped guilt trips on Alora often. Like, oh, if you weren't leaving, then we wouldn't have to sell the boat. Like, she took on a lot of that stuff. So that is 100% her biggest trauma. However, she's 16 and now she looks back and she's like, I can see why we had to leave. I understand the trauma in the family. I know why we had to leave. But they had to go through it. And I don't think as a parent, I can't stop that process because that's just part of her personal journey.
Right. Well, and that's beautiful that she can come back around. And I think that's part of it is to still go back and like reparent that little girl. And that's not necessarily for you to do, but like to bring that up and to let her feel that, because as a kid, you're not able to really process that and feel that and how confusing that was, how painful that was, how sad that was. Like, she just maybe needs to feel seen in that and know that all of those emotions were valid and to let that little girl express them somehow. And it could just be talking about it. It could just be validating. Like when she says, like, I understand why we needed to leave now, like, boom, like that could be enough to help her clear so much of that. But when you don't ever give the kid the outlet to reflect on that and understand it and speak about it or feel about it, they just keep it suppressed and don't even realize that that's what it is when it's something from that far back. So that's beautiful that you've continued to talk about it and given her the space to really see it and understand it, to be able to release it.
Yeah. And the trauma's not done. She lets me know regularly that, I'm still working through. I still have lots to say. I'm like, all right, well, whenever you need to, you can bring it out.
And that's so beautiful. I just had a conversation with a woman earlier today about having those safe spaces and like being able to talk like that with your kid and not get defensive. Like, that's the work, when we think like, you just hear that like, oh, I would die for my kids. Like, would you heal for them? Would you heal so much that you can hear when they say, you effed me up and be able to sit with that and be like, I can own that. And I can also understand why I would have done those things, but to be able to give her a safe space, even though that stuff that's going to be coming at you, like, whoa, like I will heal for you. I will live for you. Like, that's a whole different take than when people say like, oh, I would die for you. Like, it sounds in a weird way. Like, that's the easy thing to do. Yeah. It's healing and it's really living for them.
It's a hard thing that's a bullet to the heart too, when you hear that for the first time. And it's like, oh man, especially when I don't know how to say this. I don't know if any of us mean to screw up our kids, but we just do with our own stupid crap. And it's just really hard when you do something unintentionally and they call you out on it. Man, that's a bullet to the heart. It's tough to sit with that and accept the fact that, you know what, I'm not going to gaslight them and say, oh, you're crazy. You know what, or you just think that. And, that would probably be my old school way of defending myself. Same. Like, nah, you're crazy. I didn't do that. I didn't mean to. You're just imagining it. And now it's like, oh my God, okay, we all have these different filters and we're all experiencing things completely different. And the way they see the way things are going down is totally different from us, me and Kati. And I'm like, oh my God, that's because of this podcast that I had that realization. So I'm grateful for that. So yeah, when they say stuff like that, it's like, oh man, I do have to take it serious. And Kati does a better job of reminding me, like, it's not a joke. Don't laugh. Don't laugh at their pain. I'm like, okay.
Well, part of me is trying to survive the catastrophe that's about to happen. But you know what? You have to, your ego dies over and over again as your kids tell you and make you remember things that happened, and they're sharing their perspective of that. And so allowing your ego to die is one of those life lessons. It's a part of the human experience. It's okay to screw up your kids by accident because it's living, that's human stuff. However, being able to die to your ego and take on what they're saying to you and creating a space, well, if they're shining light on it, that's a healing opportunity. That means I get to transmute that feeling and it frees them. So dying to yourself, that's hard.
Yeah. So true. And I think about times when my daughter has come at me with stuff, or before she wouldn't. And that to me was worse. That felt worse, to know something is bothering her and she can't tell me. And that told me, like, when I started to do this work, that she doesn't feel safe. She doesn't feel safe within herself. She doesn't feel safe with me to be able to just tell me why she's upset. And that's when I realized, like, oh, I need to create that sense of safety within myself, that foundation, again, to be able to self-regulate in those moments. So I'm not gaslighting her. So I'm not reacting and saying something brash. When I created that within myself, then she started to be able to trust me. And it was, kind of giving me that side eye, like, can I trust you? Like, is it safe for me to actually tell you why you made me sad? Because she's a little mini me. She was starting to become a little people pleaser. I don't want to make you sad by telling you why you made me sad. I don't want to tell you why you made me mad because I don't want to make you mad. I was like, hold up here. I am the adult. It's like, whoa. And I'm like, I can't do anything if I don't know. And I want to do better. And this is, again, like you said, a healing opportunity. If I know what I did to upset you, I don't need to come in and tell you all the reasons why, like, I didn't mean it that way and you took it this way. Like, I can see how you took that and I'm sorry. And I can clarify what my intentions were and what I meant, but I can still validate how she felt. Because I remember that so many times, like, I heard what you said, but I'll never be able to change how it made me feel. Yeah. So you can tell me all day long, that's not what I meant. Well, this is how it made me feel. And I can't change that. And so sometimes we just need people to validate that.
Oh man, you just hit me so many with like so many darts. I'm like, oh my God, it's just like, yes, that's me. Oh Lord. Dude, honestly, nothing is worse than being a people pleaser. You're trying to please everybody, you end up pleasing nobody, and you're screwed too in the end. It's just 100%. Unbelievable.
100% it is the
curse.
Worst.
It's a curse. Yeah. I admire my wife so much because she could care less what anybody thinks. And she's so free. She is so free. And then there's me living in this cage that I've built myself of juggling everybody's what I think is I think that I'm caring for everyone. And meanwhile, I'm dropping all the balls and I forgot all about myself, and really it's all about me anyway. So damn it.
Well, and it absolutely triggers your inner child because you have abandoned yourself in that moment. And your inner child's like, yeah, this is great. You're taking care of everyone else, but what about me? And again, when you go back to your childhood and your parents weren't there to take care of you, now you're doing it. And your inner child's like, great, now you, awesome. And I think that's what got me the most to stop doing that, was because I know what it felt like when it felt like people abandoned me and they weren't there. And I was like, oh shit, I'm doing that to myself. Every time I want to say no and I say yes, every time I shift what I want to do because I sense other people's discomfort, I better make them comfortable. So I'm not going to do what I actually wanted to do. And I was like, whoa, no. Like I don't want to be the one to abandon her. And that really shifted things for me. When I saw people pleasing as a form of abandonment, it's like, ooh, that didn't feel good.
You know what's crazy is that I operate the exact opposite way of the two of you, or I'm not a people pleaser, but what happens is that I segregate myself from everybody because I tend to amplify things really in a negative way for people because that was my role in my childhood family. So it's still going to come right back to abandonment.
Yeah.
So abandonment has manifested itself in two different ways. He's a people pleaser and I'm a loner because I don't want to hurt people by amplifying the negative stuff.
Yeah.
So two very different things, but all stems from the same.
Exactly. And that's what's
Crazy.
fascinating about this stuff is because there's so many, like, what is the wound? Abandonment. How did you get there? There's a million different ways that people get there. But you're absolutely right. Like, I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to be a burden. So I'm just going to take myself completely out of the equation. Where it sounds like me and Alex, where we had to be in it. We had to be, managing everyone's emotions and feelings and things where you're just like, I'm just not even going to be a part of it. And when I do that, like, I'm also not allowing myself to be a part of it and be a part of that experience. And therefore, yeah, you're absolutely right. That is a form of abandonment too.
So when we went to the funeral service last Friday, the childhood stuff gets extra triggered in a situation like that because I'm like, nobody would come to my funeral. And I kept thinking that the whole time because I have such a hard time connecting to people because I'm so afraid of my emotion and their emotion and me amplifying things to who knows where. And then on the way home, he's like, but they would come for me. And I'm like, you are so right. And in that moment of clarity, it almost hurt worse. That yes, people would definitely come for him. They would not come for me because I haven't done the work. He is so much freer with his heart and his love and accepting of other people. And so funerals are tough. Man, do they ever push on your inner child?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting, people like, you don't know what to say and you don't know what to do. And it's triggering in so many ways for people. And oftentimes they don't realize that it's bringing up unresolved things from themselves. It's not even necessarily about the person that passed or the people that you're having to talk to. Oftentimes it's our own stuff coming up and we're so uncomfortable with that okay, sorry, my sympathies, and you get out of there. But in that case, wow, like you can tell like how guarded your heart has had to become. And that even there feels like abandonment because it's like, I'm not letting love in. Like it's hard for me to give it anymore, but I can't trust to receive it. Ooh,
I think
when
that's why
like the exact thing that your inner child wants, right?
Right, exactly.
But I think that's what Kathy was talking about with the kids, why she loved them so much when they were little, because it was just so pure. And I mean, she was their mom. And I remember even before we had kids, I was like, oh man, there was parts of me that was a little bit worried. It's like, oh man, because we weren't sure if we wanted to have kids. And, because Kathy isn't that like overtly loving. It's like, oh man, I wonder what kind of mom she's going to be for the kids. And I don't know. I think you blew me away. Like you really impressed me with how, you're very protective. You're very loving, like, because it's almost like with the animals, like animals don't judge you, just like the kids are so pure that they don't judge you either. So you could accept their love and their hugs and hold them. Yep. She held them for so long. She almost breastfed Laura till she was 2. Like this is a woman who loved her children so much when they were babies. And that was everything that I ever needed to see as a man. And I changed too when she was pregnant. I was like, oh wow, I wasn't this big protective person. And when she was pregnant, I seriously saw myself as a gorilla, like this monstrous man that would rip anyone apart. And I'm not that big, but that's what I saw myself becoming as she was growing this life. I'm like, oh my God, it's like this primal instinct kicked in, and I was just this new person. And I kind of loved that. I was like, wow, I encourage people to have kids because it really does do incredible things to you that you can have Yeah, adopting is wonderful too, but
Yeah,
being a parent is such an amazing thing for your avatar in the game. Like this next level up, it gives you so many
absolutely.
new tools. Kids are a
Well, it's
blessing.
interesting you talk about, not knowing, and I was in that same boat, but mine came from fear with my body dysmorphia. And it was like, I had so much fear around getting fat and not trusting my body. And I had told myself the story, again, inheriting that from my mom. Like I created this story that she had gained all of her weight after she was pregnant with me. And I carried that story literally until my 30s. And then I'm like looking back at pictures and I was like, wait a second. No, like there was a time period that wasn't because of me, and started to understand that. But still, when it came time to think about, do I want to be a mom? I did not trust my body. I thought, you could gain 7 pounds in a weekend. Like, what makes you think that you're going to be able to have a baby and be able to lose that weight? And like, it makes me sick to think like I was so vain about it, but that's the grip my body dysmorphia had on me. Was there was so much fear about what was going to happen to my body that I couldn't even consider how much like love and joy this person would bring to me. But it was very interesting that once I was pregnant, all of a sudden that it like didn't necessarily go away. It definitely silenced and shifted a lot, where I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't about me anymore. Like I wanted to create the healthiest home, the safest home for that growing baby. And I wasn't worried about my abs anymore. Or I was like, I just wanted to nourish. So it was the first time that my mentality around food and my body shifted. I was like, whoa, and then you have the baby and it's like, hurry up, get your body back. And so there was still a lot of work to be done. But yeah, it's interesting how that process can shift you and change you in a lot of ways.
If
you're open to it.
Well, that's just it. Like if you're aware of the healing opportunity in your own childhood trauma in having kids, then you get to use that energy for good.
Yes. Yes.
And then listening to Alex talking about me holding the kids, the sad thing is that it was safe for me to do that when they were that little because there was no judgment and nobody was going to point it out to me that I was doing it and judging the love. And then as they got older, I can honest to God feel and see myself pulling back. And now they're like, if I hug them or kiss them out of nowhere, they're like, whoa, what are you doing? This is not right. This is not you. And it kills me every time because it's like, but I would love for that to be me, and it's almost like they're keeping me in a space where I don't want to be there anymore. But it's really hard to get out of that space. It's so much work. It's crazy.
I mean, that makes sense though, hearing, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, to be fair, they pushed me away too. And I am the huggy one. And they're like, Dad, get off me. You're weird. They're too cool to be hugged. Probably
natural. Like they kind of go through that stage, right? Where that's just like a natural sense of independence and things too. But I think they also sense like where we're hesitant and questioning or doubting, but with you, I was thinking about how you were taught distance. And so it's like, you're at this age, like I wasn't modeled that. I don't know how, like what you do, because like that is who you are. And it's just like, how do I like knock down these walls around my heart to be able to express it? It's obviously there. The desire is there.
It is really, it's really cool to see the kids trust Kati though, and come and talk to her about like all their female things. And I mean, they're not coming to me for that stuff, but that's a closeness, even if it might not be a physical thing. That's like a soul closeness where they trust their mom. They know that their mom is going to protect them and take care of them. Like to me, that's a huge compliment.
Absolutely. When you think about love languages and things like that, not everyone's is physical touch. It isn't always words of affirmation, but like to be able to trust and feel safe, like emotionally safe, and can stay regulated around you. That's huge.
That's true. Our kids don't have like temper tantrums or
not ever, not
like
even as toddlers. Like they were so regulated. And I remember I had no fear taking them out because they were just really well-behaved kids. happy to be out, no fits of any kind. I'm like, am I a good parent?
Yeah.
Doing
Is
something
this
right.
all me?
Yeah. Well,
I
and
don't
even
know,
if they
everything was
did,
so
like to be able to
natural, yeah.
know how to hold space for them in that moment. But yeah, the fact that they've pretty well regulated is, to me, like gold star.
Right?
Because that's
I'm
probably the
coming from
hardest work.
I came from a home of the complete opposite. Nobody in my house was dear regulated. Seriously, from my family, like, oh my God, what's the extreme opposite of regulated?
Just eggshells everywhere, and God help you if you touch one of the eggshells.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I think that sense of safety is the foundation. That is literally, I mean, it's our root chakra, right? That is the foundation. And if kids feel safe, and not just physically safe, but emotionally safe, that's everything.
Mhm.
That is everything. So they may not need the reassuring hug because they just feel it. And they have always felt it.
Well,
Yeah.
and they're going to evolve into other roles. Well, they will get that. Like Alora has a boyfriend who is all about that, and his family is very touchy-feely, and she's eating it up over there. I'm like, oh, see, you found a way to bring it into your life.
Yeah.
Oh man. But she makes us feel bad. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I would play board games with you. I would hug you all day long. It's like, oh, maybe I'm gaslighting them. Maybe it is me. I don't know. I love those guys. I would hug them and make them do stuff with me all the time. I don't know what their problem is. It's their mother. I blame her.
Wow.
I've had a huge breakthrough. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Their mother.
Blame the mother.
Oh
man.
But I honestly, I feel like it's those kinds of conversations when they might feel that, like, why does this hug feel forced? And to be able to just say that, like, I didn't have that growing up. And I know it's in there. I know that love is in there, and they might be able to feel it in different ways, but like, I'm still trying to feel safe and knowing how to express it because I didn't have that model growing up. And just that right there, because then they detach from the story that it's them. Like, oh, she doesn't want to hug me. She doesn't love me. Like, no, that's her old stuff. And she's working through it because she wants to express that with me. And then they start to understand that on a whole different level. I might be able to meet you where you're at and understand that versus like, why does this feel weird coming from mom? I remember the first time my mom told me she loved me, and I was like, what? I was in college, and I remember being on the phone and like, huh? But the thing is, like, deep down, I always knew that she did, but she just showed it in like showing up at my sporting events and my choir concerts. Like, she was always physically there, but emotionally, I never felt that. And now I understand it because of her own blocks and things and her own wounds. But I think as a kid, like, we intuitively know that there's this much love, right? There's this unconditional love. And you, as a baby, as a kid, like, you want all of it. But all of a sudden it feels like it's being withheld. That's the word I'm looking for. Withheld from you. And then it starts to like, but now I can understand it. Like, yes, there is this much capacity, but she only has access to this much. But I sensed all of it, but she was only able to give me this much because of her own wounds and her own stuff. So I learned, how can I appreciate what she can give me, what she does have access to? And that made me have such a different love and appreciation for her. And I'm not all lovey-dovey with her either. I mean, I'll give her a hug when I leave and say I love you, but it's not like but I know that she does. I just know that she has a really hard time accessing it.
I think what you said about the capacity of love and them giving this much and you being able to appreciate that much, what she did, that's the game changer. I think that would be the healing component to almost anybody who has an issue loving their parents. Yeah. For them first to become aware, no, it was there, this unconditional love. The trauma made it this, but what was left of it was given to you anyway. Yeah. So let's appreciate that. I mean, that's such a great foundation to rebuild the relationship with.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a guest on my podcast a couple of weeks ago, and his dad was sent off to be on this farm when he was 12 years old. And like, yeah, you can see already right there, he had a ton of blocks of his own. And so he didn't know how to show love and affection to his own son. He's like, let's go chop wood. Well, his son didn't give two shits about chopping wood, but that was his way of being able to connect with him and have quality time with him and bond with him. But his son didn't see it that way. He's like, I don't want to do that. I want to do something fun. He saw it as work. He saw it as, this is the only way I know how to connect with my son. And when you can start to see, they're like, oh, and now this man, in his 50s can have a little bit more love and appreciation for that now, understanding it. But and still feeling sad and grieving the loss of being able to have fun with his dad and having that playful. I mean, it needs to be, and you can understand it and still feel the feels you need to about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I would say that, did I do a good enough job of telling my parents what I wanted or what I needed? I don't know if I was brave enough for that, or maybe I just noticed them. Yeah, just being this is a hard story to tell, but I remember when I was graduating high school and I wanted my dad to come to the graduation, and he said no, he was just going to work that afternoon. And I couldn't even stop myself. And I had like a couple tears come down, and my mom looked at him and she's like, you should go. And I don't know how the rest of it went, but he ended up coming, but I was broken. Like, that broke me, that it's like, you are choosing your shitty job at a wood factory that you hate over coming to spend, 2 hours. I know it's dumb to see me get my diploma from high school or whatever, but I knew that he would never come to my university graduation or whatever. I'm like, this is the thing where my parents can go and see me graduate. It's a thing. Let me have my rite of passage. Yeah. And the fact that he said no, and that I had to I didn't say anything, but just those 2 tears were enough guilt. And that makes it bittersweet that I even had to do that.
Right. And then he's there and you're like, you can't even enjoy the fact that he's there because it's like, I had to guilt you into it, when really, who knows if him witnessing his son graduating would have brought up so many emotions and made him uncomfortable. Like, I'm going to avoid that because maybe it'll be too emotional. I have to see that my son is leaving, and that, knowing what that means could have stirred up so many emotions for him, whether it's abandonment or whatever it was, or even just a proud father moment. Like, that can be uncomfortable. Happy moments can be really uncomfortable for people, which sounds completely bizarre, right? But when you really think about why would any human, especially a father, avoid something like that unless they were trying to avoid something much deeper, even if it was feelings of joy? Because he might have been afraid, what if I cry at this? I can't show emotion, so I'm just not going to go.
Yeah, it's funny. I never thought about my dad or what he was going through. I just made him the villain in my story. And it's like, why do I have to do this, or why do I have to feel this? Well, I never, maybe even now I don't care. It's like, I don't care, Dad. I don't care what you're going through. Just come and do the thing and be the dad. Just come. I don't care. Is that a dick thing to say?
I don't know if it's not a dick thing to say, but in a way it feels like an egoic thing to say, where it's you're defensive, I don't care, do your thing, or just come and just show up, when really it's no, you want him to come and be emotional about it and to feel that and to still have that connection.
I would want him to want to come. I want him to want to come.
Right.
That's
so
it.
saying that you don't care is I think ego is trying to pull one over on you there. Deep down, your inner child absolutely wants him there and wants him to hug you and tell you, son, I'm proud of you. But you're not going to get that. So ego's I don't care.
Well, I don't care what his problems are. I don't care what his problems are. Just show up and be my dad.
Right. When that still isn't enough.
Yeah. That was your wounded inner child speaking in a very petulant way, because you didn't get to actually say that to him at any point in your childhood. You never stood up for yourself. So, that was just a little bit of a petulant moment.
Well, and it makes sense too why you wouldn't have spoken up about your needs, especially just the little bit that you described to me about what your child is like. That is not an environment where you're going to be like, hey guys, I'm sad about this thing that happened today. Like, you're not rocking the boat. You're not adding any fuel to that fire. So you learn how, like, nope, I'm not going to add anything to this. I'm not going to express my needs. I'm not going to express my emotions because I don't want to add fuel to this fire that is already burning hot. And tempers are raging and you never know. So that makes total sense of why you wouldn't have communicated that.
Yeah, because he found my grade 6 journal, and we kind of laugh about it. But every day I was right, because it was a big deal that the pandas came to Winnipeg. They came to the zoo, and every day my parents told us that we were going to go to the zoo. And I'm writing, I'm like, oh, this is the week. This is the week we're going. And then it's like, well, the pandas are gone. Didn't go. I don't care. The end of the journal, right? Like it went something like that, right, dear?
Oh, it was so sad. It was ridiculous. Like you're wrong. I did not laugh about it. It was so sad. It was awful. Well, the pandas left today. We didn't go. Like it was awful. It was the worst thing I've ever read.
I meant laughed in an uncomfortable, horrible, horrific way, like I normally laugh. But ask Kathy how happy I was when I saw the pandas in Atlanta with Alora when she was 6 months old, and I took her to see the pandas.
That is how you reparent. Yes.
If you see my face in that picture, I'm like almost crying. I'm smiling. I'm laughing. Like, oh, there's Ling Ling and Ping Ping. Yes. Oh. I just want to hug them. The stupid pandas. I love you.
I mean, that is it though. That's how you reparent, is like, I'm going to give myself that experience. And I'm going to reparent that little boy who wrote in that journal and knew that that was important to him, and I'm going to keep that promise to him. I'm going to go see the pandas. I'm going to put in that time and effort. And that's what is heartbreaking. And we don't understand as parents, like those little promises. Oh man, you don't keep those and they can create some big old wounds, betrayal wounds, mistrust. And that's all of a sudden it's like, I'm going to do it myself. Like, when you can see this hyper independence and this isolation it creates as adults, because you learn to not trust what people are going to say. You can make promises all day long. I don't believe you.
Oh yeah. I don't count on anybody for I don't count on anybody for anything except for my wife, who will never ever let me down. That's probably why I married her.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. I love that you had your panda moment.
Oh man.
Pandas.
Man, it's hard. It is, for anybody out there that's listening, it is really hard having alcoholic parents and you can't trust them. You can't count on them. All you can count on is the fact that you can't count on them. It's insane. Like if my mom would have been an alcoholic too, I probably would have killed myself. I don't think that I would have. Yeah, I don't know how I would have made it if it wasn't for my mom not being that. Even though she was an enabler, at least I had one sort of stable parent that loved me. And oh my God, not that my dad doesn't love me, but oh my God, it's really crazy when you can't count on your parents.
Yep. And that can show up in a bunch of different ways too, right? Whether it's like physically, you don't know if they're going to come home or if they're going to provide, but again, emotionally, like, can I count on you to be regulated yourself so you can support me through my day when I have a bad day? And that's where, again, I didn't necessarily have that. It was maybe, here's some food, come home from a bad day at school and whatever. But I think about that. Like, I want to make sure that I can provide emotional safety for my kids and they can trust me in that. I may not always be perfect and I may need to regulate in that moment, but they know that that's there and that they can come to me with anything. Because that's the worst feeling as a parent, to think like the hardest things that they're going through, they're not going to talk to you about because they're ashamed or they're embarrassed or whatever. Like, that's when you need to come to your parent. But man, that is not the case for a lot. And that's because we haven't created that emotional safety for them. And that's on us.
Yep, 100%. And I would say that there are probably people out there who don't even understand what their childhood trauma is because they have blocked it off and they're not in touch with it. I've had people ask me, well, what is it in your child even? I'm like, oh my God, let's talk. But the universe is constantly showing you and giving you opportunities for where the hurt is. You just have to click and connect, and then you're on the ride. Then it just kind of happens. So I'm going to say this to wrap up this little segment, because I know we've been going for a while here. That I was watching Encanto the other week, and I love Encanto. And it's so crazy because I watched it with my younger sister, and she cries every time the grandmother talks about the grandfather dying, and then she had to raise these 3 babies on her own, and that kills her every time. And I'm looking and like, really? But then at the end, what kills me is when her family gives her the doorknob to the house, and they all stand there and they're saying, "We see you." Like, "We see you, open the door." Like, it kills me to the point where I'm just sobbing.
Yeah.
Every time I watch it, I'm like, and there's my wound. She has a very different wound than I do, in the same house that we grew up in.
Yep.
But there's my wound coming through a Disney movie. But the universe says there's work to be done here. So let's dial in.
Ooh, I love that. Yes, that movie wrecked me. My daughter said it needed to be rated C for crying.
Yeah.
Boom. I mean, in all of
Right?
it, I could identify with every character.
Yes.
But yes, that especially, like, to actually be seen and to be valued for your unique gifts, even though they look completely different and not as obvious, to know the work that you are doing for your family and releasing generational trauma and all of those things. Like, people don't see that. And when they actually see you, but yeah, that's a beautiful way to think about it. Like, how can I become aware? It's when emotions come out of nowhere. It's when anger and rage and you get triggered and you want to snap at someone. Like, all of those are like little indicators, like ding, 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 there's something for you. It's and then we're trying to suppress it, when we're trying to numb. Like, those are all ways that we can start to tune in, but you have to be willing to look at it. And a lot of people are just like, nope, I'm going to keep that door closed.
Right? Pay attention. Yeah. Yes, the work sucks. The energy is hard. I would equate it to exactly like what you said, is going to a funeral. Like, how do you feel when you go to a funeral? You feel uncomfortable and you want to crawl out of your skin just to get away from it. That's what it feels like to do the work sometimes. Like, it's hard. Yeah. It's uncomfortable. You want to jump out of your skin, but you can't get to the other side of the gift without going through it.
Yep. And I always think of it like inner child work is, if I were to see at some point, ego was like, what's happening up here in this real world is not making you feel seen or loved or hurt. So I'm going to just put you down in the basement where it feels safe. You'll be safe down here by yourself. I'll go up here and I'll be this character. I'll do these things. I'll do the song and dance. I'll be whoever they need me to be. You stay down here where it's safe. And all of a sudden we get into our adult life and we realize, like, oh my gosh, she's still in the basement. And like, I have to go get her. But ego's like, no, we're good. She's fine down there. And like, no, she's not. She is now banging on the door. Like, when all of a sudden you're like, something is stirring inside of you. Maybe you're not fulfilled in your job or your marriage or whatever it is. Like, there's something that's stirring in you. Like, that's her or him knocking on the door. Like, let me out. And we have to be brave enough to open that door and let her up to experience this life with us and bring back that joy and remind us of what our dreams were. Like, that isn't so scary to me. But you do have to maybe go down there and get her, because maybe now she is scared of coming up because of what ego has told her what this life is like up here, when really, like, no, we're the adult. And sometimes it helps to have, a coach or a person, or even just listening to a podcast that feels like it's someone turning the light on, to know that, like, hey, let's go down there together. It's safe. And so even just hearing messages like this might be enough for someone to think, like, well, maybe this inner child work thing isn't so scary after all. And that feels like the flashlight to be able to go down there and actually start exploring this.
Come live this fully integrated life. That's what it means to be a fully integrated human, where you are walking alongside your inner child and your future self. Because when you do the meditation work, you have access in all directions of time. So walk with your elder self, walk with your inner child. This is fully integrated living.
Yes. Amen. Mic drop.
Mic
yes.
Drop. Done. Podcast over. It's over. We're good. Finished. Man,
I love the direction we went. I didn't think we were going to go that way, right? But it was so good that we talked about parenting and the traumas associated, like, with our kids and ourselves. And great episode. I loved exactly where it went.
I do want to ask Tami a question, but do you want to ask her the question first, and then I'll just do a bonus question?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to ask because this is your second time.
Mhm.
Somebody's left a question for you, and this is such
It
a
was
great
Tami.
question.
She asked her own question.
Oh, shoot.
No, we're kidding.
It was such a great question that we actually answered it live with the last guest because we were like, oh my God, I want to answer this. So
You're gonna love it.
if you could go back in time and witness a historical event, not change it, but witness it, what event would it be and why?
Ooh.
I tied it in with my inner child. It's kind of funny when I answered it.
A historical event.
Now that I think
man.
about it, mine was from my inner child too. Crazy.
Mhm. Right?
I'm like trying to dig through the archives. Like, what happened when I... Oh, man. You guys stumbled me on this one. What are yours?
I wanted to
tell
go
her what yours is.
see. I wanted to go see the 1993 NBA Finals when John Paxson hit the three-pointer to win the third championship for the Bulls, and oh my God! And I said it was a tie between that and Joe Carter hitting the home run against the Braves for the Toronto Blue Jays. Mine were both sports, but those iconic moments in the 90s sports where I wish I could have been in the crowd to witness it. I don't have to change it. I just want to be there to feel that energy. That to me, that was like, oh God, everything. But I mean, if I wanted to think very big, it would be like, oh wow, I wonder if I'd want to go, be present for, being in a chuck wagon going around across the country or dueling
Right?
Jesse James or something, right? It's
Oh my gosh, too funny.
sorry. What did you answer,
so
Kathy?
this
I
is
can't remember what you
interesting.
said.
Oh yeah, go ahead. I want to hear yours.
Oh, mine was simple. It was Atlantis. I'm going back to Atlantis. I want to walk amongst the people who are that elevated and connected where they're psychically talking to each other, and or it sank into the ocean, of course.
Interesting.
She wants to be the Little Mermaid.
Interesting. You guys triggered like two things for me because I'm like, I don't freaking know. Which also like triggers childhood stuff for me is I don't have a lot of memories, like certain events, specific things, like because I don't feel like I was ever really present because I was always out here.
Right.
So I don't have a lot of like distinct memories. So I'm like, God, I can't even think of anything. But now, like you triggered those things for me because they are there somewhere, right? But I can't remember her name, but she was the gymnast that it was like, I think it was Carrie something, and like off the vault and twisted her ankle and then had to like do it again. And like, that was such a huge Olympic moment and just witnessing that. So like that energy you're talking about. But then you triggered when I went and did my healing certification and they were like telling us about like our gifts and like, Lemuria was something that came up and I was like, what? Like to be able to explore that. So like, oh, but yeah, I'm going to sit with that one because that again, that brought up some stuff like, why don't you have those memories and just be able to go to something like that? Like that's like, oof. So you got me in a different way.
It's funny. And you know what? I was thinking, it's like, I wouldn't mind going back and reliving my wedding day or watching it, like being a spectator. That would be kind of cool. That's like, I'm like, why wouldn't I go back to like one of my favorite days of being alive? Why wouldn't I do that? And right away I thought about sports. I'm like, oh, that's kind of something I'd want to do.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, maybe it'd be better to go and witness my favorite day again. That would be a cool thing too.
Yeah. It'd be
Now
kind
I'm
of cool
gonna be
to like
playing with
witness
that in
the
my
birth
mind.
of my son and like sitting outside of that could be kind of cool. But
Sure, yeah. As long as you don't have to do
Great
the pain
question.
again.
yeah, exactly. I was like, she's badass. She just pulled that kid right out.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I do like your answer though, Tami. That was pretty cool. So what's your next question? I mean, you're an old pro at this.
Yeah. My question is if there is a moment in your childhood that you could go back and reparent, what would it be and what would you do? What would you say?
So I had I had two meditative things happen to me where I'm like, okay, I have to talk to Tami about this. And the first one was an idea. I usually get these like seeds, these mind ideas. And it's like, are we vases or vases? Are we vases that are broken and cracked that we kind of glue back together? Or do you see us more like muscles where we have to get torn up and built back up stronger?
Ooh. I don't like.
Can we ever be completely repaired?
I was going to say both too. I feel like the energy is the same for both.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, and I love that vase analogy because I think about that in so many different ways. You know, about like how you're pouring from it, and oftentimes we're empty, but like if you fill it up, the overflow can go over to people instead of completely depleting ourselves. And I don't know if I shared this on our last episode about how I was pouring into myself, but there was cracks everywhere. And then I had to go patch those up. And so I think about that and how much stronger that has made me by doing that work and, patching up those cracks. But I mean, the muscle thing obviously resonates with me. I think there's so many analogies with what that means and that you do have to tear it down. Like if people actually understood the process of building muscle, and it's oftentimes going to failure, on that rep, that set. And people don't understand, no, it's in the failure that you grow, that your muscles actually grow, but then you also need the recovery. And there's so many cool analogies with that and how to strengthen that. And it's a really good analogy to this work.
Okay. So we're going with both from both of you guys. Here I am. I'm like, we're either one or the other, but I guess.
No, I feel like it could be both. Absolutely. Whatever resonates.
Nice. And then I know that this is a weird question, or it's not weird, but do you believe, okay, this is how I want to word it. Do you believe, Tami, that we can ever, all of us, do you believe that we could ever fully overcome our childhood traumas?
That's such a great question. And I get asked that a lot. And I don't know if it's about overcoming them versus embodying it and being in tune with it and knowing how to work with it. And I feel like the process can just be so much smoother. I don't know if you ever just get rid of it or it's never a thing. I feel like it's always going to probably be there. But do you now have a different energy around it? Do you now look at it with understanding and love and compassion? I don't ever want to forget about those parts of me, but I certainly don't want them running the show anymore. So I think about is just that full integration and that they're always going to be a part of who I am. They're just not, I'm not letting, inner teenage Tami run my business anymore or,
right. I guess that's where the power of awareness really gets its power then. If you're aware of it, it's not controlling you then.
Yeah. Yeah. But I love those moments. I mean, that's where being in the gym and doing my workouts, I honor my sophomore self and my third grade self with body dysmorphia, every time I'm in the gym. And so I use that pain to fuel my workouts now. And I honor them in that way. And that's why those workouts mean so much more to me than just showing up and, hitting the weights and burning calories. It means something to me because I remember them and what they went through to get me here.
Nice. Well, Tami Talks, the Unscripted Healing Podcast, has come back for round 2 on the Pear Genius Podcast. Epic.
Yes. And the next time you guys are on mine. So I'm so pumped for that.
Yes. I can't wait. I want everybody to go check out Tami's podcast because the guests that you have are fantastic. They're really interesting people. And I've listened to about 4 or 5 episodes now and awesome. And we were joking before you came on. I'm like, man, I wish I was a nicer person like Tami. You do such a nice job of listening. And I'm just like, okay, you said your thing. Now we're going on to the next thing. That's how I am.
You are not at all.
But I just wanted to say thank you again, Tami, for coming on. And everybody, we're going to see you on the next episode. Make sure to like, subscribe, share. And we're going to make more episodes where I cry. And, it'll be really entertaining. So.
Yeah, we haven't done that yet, so I'm gonna have to come back now because we didn't make you cry on this one. So
I went 2 or 3 times. My eyes were red. I was like, "Oh man, you almost got me." So anyway, next time.
We'll
next
save
time
that
I'll cry.
for my podcast.
Yeah, I'll just be sobbing.
I'm gonna get him.
See you guys.